What is up, everybody? Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. I'm back on TikTok, but who knows how long this damn app is gonna be. Now, I never left Twitch and YouTube. Let's make that very clear. What's up, Crispy Ox? Hey, Ghost Laughing Man, how you doing? Early today? No, not early today. Same time, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Question of the day. What's the question of the day, Crispy? What do you got? But, yeah, I was, banned from TikTok Live for a week for hate speech and hateful behaviors. Yeah, can you believe that? Apparently, swearing is considered hate speech in TikTok. Do a home user need a firewall? I'm just a normal guy at home. Well, it depends on what you're meaning by firewall, because the reality is everyone needs a firewall in this day and age. Now, the question is, do you need a firewall in terms of like a hardware appliance firewall like I and many other people deploy in their own house? Not so much. But everyone has a little bit of a firewall in your off-the-shelf router. Like Firewalla, OpenSense, PFSense, no, you don't necessarily need it. However, if you're trying to do some more powerful things with your home network and everything, you're going to want to lean that way. Because the honest truth is, there's been a lot of marketing into like gaming routers and all of that. And I see these people spend $200, $300, $400 on these BS routers. You could spend just as much on a proper firewall like you're discussing, and get better results. Admittedly, it will take a little bit more elbow grease to get these tuned to the way you want, but you have a lot more features with them. There's a lot of people that spend too much money on overpriced hardware. When the reality is, you know, like, you can do what I've done for many years, which is take a used computer, slap an Intel network interface card in there, install PFSense. You can do OpenSense, which is a little bit easier out of the box than PFSense, but PFSense is more capable in terms of the bells and whistles there, and I've seen PFSense in data centers where you don't really see them in OpenSense. But they are firewalls, then I need an AP, right? Yeah, you would. In that sense, you would need a dedicated access point. Now, there are some combo units I've seen out there, like WatchGuards, for example. They have the ability to combine the wireless access point feature into the firewall aspect of it. But those tend to be lower-end units. And to get the best performance, you want the AP and firewall separate. Here's another reason why. Your firewall, hardware-wise, may not need to be replaced as much as the AP. Whereas if you separate the components, you can improve, tinker, replace your access points whenever you need. So I have a pretty beefy firewall. Eventually, I'm going to get that replaced. I'm thinking probably next year. But I can keep the APs with it, and I'm on Wi-Fi 5 with my UniFi. I don't feel the need to go to Wi-Fi 6 or 7. I probably will eventually as my APs start to age out, because they're probably getting there. I'm not sure what Flint is. I know they run a custom version of OpenWRT. OpenWRT is more so just a regular router. But it has some firewall capabilities, but it's not even in the realm of a firewall, a PFSense, an OpenSense, or anything like that. So, don't get me wrong, OpenWRT is fine. I used to run it many, many years ago. But, yeah. When you said you're back, switch to talk. Who knows? TikTok might be a dick again and then decide to just kick me off anyway. That's why you should be following me on all the platforms. I'm with my provider's router because there's combined with ONT, and I asked them, and they said that they don't allow switches with optical capabilities. There's ways around that. And then also, I got a few things we're going to be testing out from the TikTok shop. There are some soldering projects they sent too. So, yeah. What about buying one of the mini PC from China, which have 2 to 4 LAN ports? You can do that. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no perfect answer when people are like, I'm setting up my home network, my home lab. Do whatever you feel it works for your needs. There's a lot of great options out there. There's probably a lot of different hardware solutions I haven't even come across that'll work just fine. The main consideration is an x86 CPU. In this day and age, if you want a decent amount of IDS, IPS, 2 to 4 cores, at least a couple gigahertz. You don't need that much. I run Intel Atom Edition, Intel Atom Server Edition in my firewall at home. It's an 8-core Intel Atom Server Edition. I think it's a C3790 if I'm not mistaken. That thing is beefy and can handle multi-gigabit all day long. You don't need a lot. And that's with IDS, IPS, and all the bells and whistles and everything inspecting traffic. And then, of course, you're going to need multiple ports. Now, if you're running pfSense, you're going to want Intel-based network interface cards. That's my view on Firewall. Not the best. More so because they rubbed me the wrong way with that whole ARP poisoning approach they did. There's one mode, I forget the specifics, but I remember reading it, and I'm like, that pisses me off. They're like, use the tools hackers use to protect your network, and I'm like, no, that I don't like that verbiage either. Now, I know it's one of the modes and all that, but I don't know. I've just never been particularly that fond of Firewall with the way they marketed a lot of their stuff. I haven't had my hands on them, but that's just how I am. So, I'm going to try out this soldering iron. I don't know if tonight I'm going to try it out. I'm waiting for... I forgot I need some stuff to tin it properly and clean the tips, so I'm waiting for that, but I can at least give it a quick little test. Because I kept seeing this little stupid soldering iron all over the TikTok, and of course, when I see stuff like that, I ask companies to send me a sample so we can actually test it. And y'all know, sending me a sample don't mean that it's going to be guaranteed a good review. But, and for comparison's sake, this is a cordless Fantic soldering iron. Okay, so off the bat, don't know how I particularly feel about this little feature here. So it has the ability to adjust the temperature, but it's not very precise. It's kind of this dial. Although, let me see. Yeah, it just clicks. So it's in 90-degree Fahrenheit increments. And if I can be completely honest, I would have liked them to have it in metric. I'm a Celsius guy, okay? I know, some of y'all are like, but America! Well, America needs to learn that, you know, the rest of the world's in metric. Oh, what's this? Is this a desoldering pump? Did it come with a desoldering pump? I wasn't even sure. I just wanted to see what they do. Yeah, it came with a desoldering pump. So that's a nice value add. If it's good enough. Just that. Oh, it's got a little silicone tip around it. That's kind of weird. Is that just to protect it, or is that... No, that's on there. Okay. Kind of weird it does that. Oh. Just curious. Read the manual. Let's read the fucking manual. Oh, sorry, TikTok. Don't want to get flagged for hate speech again. Can't drop F-bombs. Think of the children! So you have a manual. You don't even talk about the desoldering pump. That's just great. So it's got 6 levels of adjustment. So for comparison's sake, yeah, that says a built-in rechargeable battery. So comparison's sake, this is my soldering iron I've used for a few years now. This is the Pine Sol. This is made by Pine 64. This is a 3D printed case that I have used to carry it around. This soldering iron has literally traveled the world with me. I have soldered projects around the world with it. Got a little soldering reel there, which I will be using when I go to test that. Got a little solder holder, and you know, this is a little self-contained unit, and then I can power this off of USB-C PD or a battery pack. Well, it's battery pack with USB-C PD or something like that. But yeah, you get the point. I won't be probably soldering anything today because I do need to get the tinning kit. I just wanted to at least get the impressions on this out of the way. So the Pine-Sol allows a granularity of controlling all the different soldering temperatures a little bit better. That thing also heats up pretty damn fast, and I love how nicely the tips can be replaced and everything. So this, I think, is the holder for it. So that is one nice thing that this comes with a holder. Now, price comparison, I think this, if I'm not mistaken, is about a $60 or $50 soldering iron, whereas this is a $20 one with tips. It comes with a couple tips, but I forget how much the tips and such were. And then, of course, I soldered a 3D printed the case and all that jazz. So that is one consideration. I think there is a version of this soldering iron that does have. So aluminum panel whenever they ship it to me. So I did get word from PCBWay that they got it approved. They just needed me to proof it, and I'm hoping it'll be here around beginning of next month. It's coming from China. Okay, so that's kind of weird. The charging cable they give you is USB A to C. If you know your basics about electrical stuff, when it comes to USB-C, that means it's not going to be doing fast charging. And PD also has the ability for you to negotiate and keep the battery of the life of the battery a little bit better, because it can ramp it up and slow it down based on battery conditions. What are your thoughts on the new NVIDIA graphics cards? They're new graphics cards. I don't know what more you want me to say about them. A graphics card's a graphics card. I mean, my new laptop has the 4070. I have a 3070 in this desktop. I'm still happy with it. Okay, I could have sworn there was supposed to be like some kind of pads or something that came with this. There's supposed to be like some kind of sponge pads that came with this little thing, if I remember. Or do I have to get my own? Oh, the tips are there. I mean, that's kind of nice. But how do I don't know, the holder just feels kind of a little cheap and weird to me. They definitely could have designed this holder a little bit better. Like, you see, I'm struggling with this shit. My Pine-Sol wasn't nearly as hard. It was less difficult to put together my soldering iron case. Okay, it's in there. Does a little ratcheting action. Woo. It does come with some needle nose pliers. Yeah, but I could have sworn there was supposed... Oh, there they are. I was like, I knew, like, there was some other stuff in here. Okay, yeah, that's what I was looking for. So you normally want a sponge so that you can, you know, clean your tip off, similar to, like, the little brass coil I have over there. They give you a few spare ones. That's kind of nice of them. There's a black one in there. Well, I got yellow and black ones, I guess, if you want to go for the style, I guess. I don't know. So let's see. You get 4 tips in here. These are kind of fine. Alright, let's see if we can show y'all the kind of tips they got. So these are kind of fine, if you notice. And looks like they have a little chisel tip. This is like a right angle hook. You can't really see it. You have your typical, you know, point. And then what the fuck is this? Oh, that's another chisel. So you get like 2 chisels. So what number DEFCON is coming up? This would be DEFCON 33. We'll see if I'm there. I can save money now and then, one can eat. Getting money in the daytime, even counting when I sleep. Wake up to getting bread, bitch, I do this for the streets. ADHD. Thank you for that sub there, Wicked Smile, thank you. Hello from Mexico. What's up, Exploit Nick? Is Firewall's hardware not just a Chinese brand on the hood with their touch to make it more user-friendly? Who knows? I haven't had my hand on one, so it's kind of hard to tell. Alright, let's see. How long until I end up getting banned from TikTok again? Okay, so the tips are a little bit easier to pull out. Let's take a look at the tip for a second here, so I can look at the construction. It doesn't look like it's... Is there ceramic core in here? Because if it's ceramic, that would explain why it heats up super fast. It's just kind of weird that it's surrounded by metal. Good, very late morning. Senior follow-up video on TikTok about web browser privacy. Nice as always. Yeah, the full video is on YouTube as always. Those really, really nice videos that you see, those are ones that are on the YouTubes. Do I need to charge this? Is it like completely dead? Oh, there we go. You gotta like press and hold it. So, okay, that is one nice feature. It has a light, which don't need to explain how useful that is when you're soldering, although you're probably gonna use... Yeah, it's the, I saw this over on, TikTok too. A lot of people were like raving about this soldering iron. Okay, it does heat up pretty fast. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna charge this boy up. Yeah, that got pretty hot. So I don't know if it gets hot as fast as the pine sol that I, you know, have used for years over here. This little let me put this in a holder so I don't actually burn myself. So the holder's kind of nice there. For those of you that didn't see, you can ratchet it around. The pain in the ass is like getting the plastic clips to get in. It does have a little cleaning pad here, so it's kind of nice for that. But here's what annoys me. That's plastic. That stand is plastic. The cup that, you know, the sponge goes in, that's metal. So, not happy about the stand. I feel like they cheaped out there. Just, you know, do a little cheap metal. Doesn't have to be like anything too fancy, but you're gonna have a hot-ass soldering iron. that's going to get marred pretty easily. I can forgive my little Pinesil case for that because this is a 3D printed case, you know? But, you know, like my soldering iron holder, if you pay attention, the rollerblade bearing inside of here. But is it a nice working iron? Stand can be bought, but nice iron is priceless. It seems like a nice one. I will do a proper test tomorrow. I got a couple of soldering projects. We actually have another one coming in, so I will be soldering a little bit on stream. I just was a dumbass and forgot to get some tinning and cleaning supplies, so I'm waiting for that to come in. But I at least wanted to get some first impressions of this and then do a head-to-head comparison of these both. Yeah. Overall, initial impressions, not bad. I'm really bad at soldering. I don't solder that much either, so I'm not the best at it, but I'm not the worst at it. It's one of those that takes time in practice. So here's a couple of sample soldering projects I got. So this one is an FM radio. So you got a bunch of the little components here. You've got instructions. All of this I got off of the TikTok shop, just so you know. I like to do this thing once in a while where I like to review things on the TikTok shop to see if they're legit. The instructions look straightforward. That's kind of nice. Over in the corner, they give you a little guide over here to tell you if you have a good solder and how to do it. Just a basic little notes over here. This is good for beginners. I just figured these were like inexpensive, cheap little projects that we can work on together. So you have all the electronics over here in this kit over here. Yep, that's the display. They give you an acrylic case with a antenna built in with the speaker and a battery pack already there. It looks like we're going to solder on the battery pack. An acrylic backing for it. And, of course, the PCB. So that'll be a fun project we will do together. Probably not tonight, because I do want to get the tip thinner. And of course, as always, if you're over on the TikTok side, we give better picture views on the other platforms. And I must overtake an SMD LED replacement with proper solder iron. Oh, SMD? You talking about the really, really tiny ones? Oh, those are a pain. I know your pain. I had to solder one of those to fix my aerospace village badge. I kind of did a crappy soldering job on this, but it works for the ADS-B antenna on the aerospace village badge. For those of you that weren't here, let me show you. I don't know if the new camera is going to pick it up. I might have to switch to the old camera. So you see the antenna on the corner over there? Yeah, that was kind of a jank soldering job. I don't really solder much. Here, let me show you up close. The pad is about 2mm by 2mm 4 lead. Alright, so I want you to show you. So that's the soldering job I had to do to get the antenna. Yeah, I know, little jank. But you see that little tiny capacitor right there that looks like a little bump? It's, yeah, I'll put my finger. You see where my finger is? Right by C114? I had to solder that mother fricker. Yeah, that's a tiny capacitor. I had to solder that because apparently they admitted they should have moved the cap further back. Because a lot of people were accidentally unsoldering that. And I had to track down the SMD to get it replaced because they were kind enough. They were going to send it to me, but I didn't want to wait a few weeks. I was impatient. You need a microscopic kit. Well, I did it with a tiny needle nose soldering iron, and it works. So I managed to get it working. It was a pain in the frickin' butt, but we got it. Now let's see what else we got. All right. Which one was this again? Oh, this was the Bluetooth speaker kit that I found on TikTok. Right, okay. So you got a couple of these small woofers. And we've got LEDs and all sorts of componentry over here. Little PCB here for them. I think that's a potentiometer over there. Not sure. It's got a remote, some wires, USB little PCB over here. It's got the DC audio jack in there. That's nice. And then I have another one coming in, a little soldering kit, which is a power supply. I figure these are fun little soldering projects we'll get around to doing. Maybe not tonight, but definitely Sunday or so. And then I will be working on... I've been working on revising the script for my latest YouTube video. So for those of you that haven't been paying attention to the Blue Sky or the Mastodon, I have been talking about the whole Signalgate situation. And look, a million people out there are diving into the content of, you know, what was in the messages and everything. Forgot to switch the camera back. It's amazing just how night and day difference this looks. Although the only complaint I have is, do you notice the left side of me is a little bit darker? So I have another key light coming in that's going to fix that. So eventually we'll get rid of this shadow over here. It should overall improve the quality of the video and everything. It won't make it in time for my recording my next video, but yeah. I got a question. What's better, Arduino or Raspberry Pi? Two different things. They are two completely different things. It's not a matter of what's better overall. It's a matter of what's better for what you're trying to do. Arduino is a little bit more basic. Like, the Arduino technically is, well, not technically, an Arduino is what powers my 3D printers. But an Arduino is connected to a Raspberry Pi on my 3D printer so that it becomes a 3D print server. So that soldering iron should be nice once I get around to properly testing it out. Although the desoldering pump was a nice little touch. The tips come in and out kind of easily. Oh, I see. You can unscrew this little collet over here to, okay, that makes sense. So we'll let that charge because it just came in. That's part of why I don't want to use it right now, is I want to give it a proper charge so I can fairly compare it to the Pinesil. Like, I literally came home and just was playing with that. So, yeah, it holds the tips down on the bottom here. Overall, first impressions, not bad for 50 bucks. But we will know its soldering performance in a couple of days, and we'll have it go head-to-head with my Pinesil, which I've had for several years. This is still my trusty, you know, like my preferred soldering iron as far as things go. Yo, man, you look like a serious dude. It depends. Arduino is an MCU, Raspberry Pi is an SBC. Yep, there you go. They're not, it's not that one's better than the other. It's that they have different purposes. Do you play songs on stream? A little bit. Usually I just have background music. Like what's playing right now. Alright, so let's, yeah, my iFixit toolkit is upstairs. So to make this awesome, you need both. Could I say the Pi is the brain and the Arduino is the muscle nerves? It depends. It depends. Now, Arduino's better at real-time things from what I've noticed. But it's like one task at a time kind of thing. It focuses on it. Can we listen to 15 seconds of a depressive cover of YMCA? What the hell? Arduino's for controlling machine is at 95% single thread. SBC is a computer on a board, single board computer. Raspberry Pi is closest to a PC than an Arduino in its conception. Yeah. Like you can use an Arduino, like let me show you for an example. You can run Arduinos in a lot of different things. So let me pulling out my box of SBCs. So the Raspberry Pi here, for example, that's a full-on single-board computer. This is a full-on computer, basically. All you gotta do, get a keyboard, a monitor, and a mouse if you need a mouse. But, yeah, you just need that. You could even run it headless. Whereas, where the hell is it? Okay, there we go. This is a Latte Panda. This is a full-on computer with an x86 CPU that also has an Arduino built into it. That's why it has all these GPIO pins here. So you can have this installed with Windows or Linux and then run an Arduino off of this. And Arduino is a brand for microcontroller, like Linux is a brand for facial touch. Yeah, you got tons of different microcontrollers. There's like, what, ESP32s and stuff like that. But yeah, there's a lot of different choices out there. It just happens to be a lot of them may be Arduino compatible. Like if I'm not mistaken, this little LoRa device over here is another kind of microcontroller. You know, they do one thing very well. Arduino is epic. I used it to make a VR treadmill. Just randomly found it on YouTube. Wait, found what on YouTube? What? Oh. So to make this awesome... Oh yeah, I already said that. Sorry, I'm just catching up. Interview with OrNL. Wish me luck. Oh, good luck, Gray. Sorry, I didn't mean to miss your message. Got me here. What did I miss? Oh, we were just starting out. I unboxed the new soldering iron, which is this was all over TikTok on my side of things. So I said, screw it. I'll buy one to, see what the review is honestly about it. Because the honest truth is, and this is one thing I really hate about TikTok, is, hey, what's up, buddy? Oh, thank you. Thank you. Gotta wait for that to cool. So, one thing I really, really don't care about TikTok is, I get so many damn ads for the TikTok shop. And the problem is, I feel like I can't trust most of the people that are talking about the products that they're finding on there. Because everyone is shilling something. So, my goal is to give you the best information possible. And part of that is, if I do come across these products, we're going to see if they're legit. We're going to see if they're crap. We're going to, you know, give you my actual impressions with it. And and I won't lie, I found some good gems on TikTok Shop. You can also find a lot of these items on Amazon, but I will be honest and I say that I found a lot better deals on the TikTok Shop than I did Amazon. Which is better to use to run multiple cameras to stitch into one wider clear lens? You need a Raspberry Pi. Raspberry Pi is a proper CPU or any single board computer. Like, it doesn't have to be a Raspberry Pi necessarily. It could be like this Le Potato. It could be, these are another one. This is the Rock Pro 64 by Pine 64. They make a smaller version called the Rock 64. It could be any kind of single board computer, but you're gonna want a single board computer to do actual processing of things you would expect of a computer. Arduino is not great at doing things like that. It doesn't have the oomph and horsepower. Could you run game emulators on it? On an Arduino, I'm not really sure you can exactly. I mean, you possibly can, but it wouldn't work that well, whereas a Raspberry Pi is definitely and all that. I mean, an Arduino is just too simplistic for a lot of the basic not a lot of the basic tasks, but a lot of the more complex tasks. So what you need to think about is, if you're having it do one thing at a time, and by one thing, I mean, like, it's literally doing. Now, when you're thinking, like, well, one thing, I'm just going to have it do image processing. That's not one thing. That's one thing doing a lot of things underneath it. To you, that seems like one task, but to the computer, that's a lot of different tasks. If you're doing, like, so one by one, like, let's say, God damn it. Pre-roll ads are on. Thought I disabled that. Here, one sec. I gotta get rid of the Twitch is doing stupid things, so... Keep looking, I don't understand. Well, my advice would be, get both products. Get both products, and then what you can do is just compare and contrast. There are cases where an ESP32, an Arduino, or just any microcontroller is going to be better. So, like, for example, you're doing a CNC, a 3D printer, you have it moving one thing. Now, when I say it's one thing at a time, so what this 3D printer is doing, we need to move to X, Y coordinate, and then do the thing. Now, do that hundreds of times? Yeah, that can be a microcontroller, because it's doing one task repeatedly. But if you're talking about, now I need it to process imagery, that's where you're going to need some more oomph behind it, because you're talking about a CPU, possibly a GPU, which a Raspberry Pi does have a GPU built in. That's where a single board computer is going to do a lot better. So, play with both. Yeah. Would a virtual machine in conjunction with Incus Container 2 add to security, or is it redundant? Incus Container? What's Incus? Not familiar with that container. Hold on. Incus Container. Oh, it's another container system similar to... Incus is a next generation system container, application container, and virtual machine manager. Haven't really played with this too much. Oh, it's an alternative to Canonical's LXD. Okay. Haven't gotten around to playing with this as much. So, let's see what the GitHub says. Yada, yada, yada. Okay, let's see. Incus provides a unified experience by managing a full Linux systems inside containers or virtual machines. So it looks like it's a little bit of both. Incus supports images for a large number. Now, the question I have is, would it be a Type 1 or Type 2 hypervisor if it's running the virtual machines? If it's hooking into Virt on Linux, that'd be nice because it actually would be a lower level. I'd have to do a little bit more research on this. I haven't played with this particularly. LXD uses group XD, while Incus uses groups. Okay, there's groups, blah, 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 blah. What the hell? Why is that up there? Yeah, this is still pretty... Oh, so it's a community fork of LXD. Yeah, I haven't really played with that too much. Alright. Umbrella behind, okay, distro builder and more. The goal is to offer a distro and vendor-neutral environment for the development of Linux container technologies. Our focus is providing containers and virtual machines that run full Linux systems, while VMs supply a complete environment. System containers offer an environment as close as possible to the one you'd get from a VM, but without the overhead that comes from running. So it looks like it's a little bit of both. I haven't dealt with this too much. Of course, as you can see from my desktop, I use Virt Manager for a lot of my work. So I don't know if you necessarily need to run this inside of a virtual machine, because that can be the virtual machine, unless I am misreading something here. Incus will be tracking changes, okay. But after some discussion, okay. Go Incus, okay. Yeah. That's interesting. I'd have to play with that a little bit. I just haven't had the opportunity to. Seems to have some nuances. That's what I was reading, and that's where I need to figure out what those nuances are. I mean, there's nuances in everything. I mean, if you're using Microsoft Hyper-V, if you're using Virt Manager, if you're using VirtualBox, if you're, there's nuances to all of this different stuff. You're welcome. Yeah, I would just say play with it. But I don't think you need to run that in a VM. It looks like you can run the VM. Now, that is to say, if nested virtual machines are your bag, and it's capable of doing that, okay, play with it. See what the results are. Share it in the Discord and Matrix communities if you can. Subtle plug. Don't forget, Discord. Have a Discord. And a Matrix server. And a Blue Sky. And a Mastodon. And a Twitch. And a YouTube. Busy boy. John Wayne. You're a good guy. God bless you. I think I'm okay. Although, I can be a devil in bed. Okay, so we've got some projects that we're going to definitely be doing on Sunday, soldering wise. That'll be fun. I got to find my helping hands. See if that helps out just a little bit. And then we'll do a head-to-head on those two soldering irons. I might do the soldering ahead of time, but I want y'all to see this. So I am planning a video on the Signalgate controversy. So how many of you are familiar with the whole Signalgate controversy from the Trump administration right now going on? Particularly the one with Pete Hegseth and all that. What do you know about Nostr? I have this gossip. Nostr is another blogging service, but the problem is, don't get me wrong, the tech and the idea behind it is really cool. The problem is it's way too technical for the average person, that the learning curve is already too steep for many people to want to adopt it. If people are already confused by Mastodon, which is just a little bit of a learning curve, and are impeded by that, Nostr is never going to take off. Great idea. Great tech. The problem is the average person's just not up to par for that. So anyway, back to what I was saying about the Signalgate thing. Yeah, so everyone and their mom is talking about, what's in the Signalgate, messages and everything, what was in that chat and all that. I'm not focusing on that aspect of it. What I'm focusing on is the cybersecurity aspects of it and how it pretty much damns the Trump administration. And mind you, I'm not Team Red, I'm not Team Blue, unless we're talking about cybersecurity red teaming and blue teaming. Okay? Screw the Democrats, screw the Republicans. But I'm Team Red and Blue when it comes to offensive and defensive. The reality is, looking at it just from a purely professional cybersecurity lens, there is no reason they were using Signal except for the reason of trying to get away from prying eyes, specifically when it comes to audits and everything. This isn't meant to be a political discussion. This is meant to be a discussion on best practices in cybersecurity that we can all learn professionally in our space about identity and access management. The need for this kind of thing. So, let me show you this. I have been writing a script for the video. I'm going to probably record it tomorrow. I've been talking about this for a week, but I wanted to get all my eggs in a row. This fucker is 19 pages long. Pardon my French, TikTok. Just got the A+, moving my way up. Mazel tov! So, 19 pages. I'm not talking about the content of the messages. I'm not talking about the politics of it. What I am going to be talking about is the technical aspects of it. And I'm even addressing the whataboutisms that I've seen of people like, well, Barack Obama used a BlackBerry and there was that whole scandal around it. Well, Hillary Clinton had a private email server. I address all of that. And I've just been adding little tidbits as time goes on as I've been No, there's not going to be a PDF of this. There's going to be a YouTube video of it. This is a script that I'm going to be reading off my teleprompter over here. I got to format it for the teleprompter, but I've been spending a couple of days crossing my T's, dotting my I's, because I want to make sure... Here, I'll read the intro for you so you guys can understand where I'm coming at with this, okay? I'll read the intro. I'm still working on this, so it may change when you see the actual video. What do you think of WebEx is secure? It's secure, but I'm not a big fan of WebEx for other reasons. It's okay. It's just kind of expensive Cisco product. All right. This is the intro. That will be on the video. Hey everyone, Chief Geek 3D here. I'm a cybersecurity professional, and yes, a CISSP for those keeping score. Today we've got a wild story that's equal parts serious and facepalm worthy. We're talking about how the Trump administration tried using the secure messaging app Signal to dodge audits and public accountability, and how it spectacularly backfired. Yes, I know this video is going to be a long one, but I strongly urge you to stick around for the full ride. We're not just here to gossip about what was said in those leaked Signal messages. There's already plenty of coverage about the content. What's missing, and what I'm here to break down, is how it happened, why it's a nightmare from both a cybersecurity and government transparency standpoint, and what this exposes about the current state of secure communication practices at the highest levels of power. We'll walk through the technical failures, the cybersecurity threats that this exposed top officials to, and the alternative systems they should have been using. There are even some basic security lessons here that apply to everyone, from IT professionals to everyday users. This is an expose you can share with both technical and non-technical people to help them understand why this wasn't just a political blunder. It was a major operational security failure with real-world risks. And before the whataboutism kicks in, yes, we'll also be covering the cybersecurity concerns about Obama's infamous BlackBerry and Clinton's private email server with no encryption and a bathroom closet setup. My focus isn't political. I'm not on Team Blue or Team Red. The only red team and blue team I care about are cybersecurity offense and defense. This isn't about who you vote for. It's about understanding why the missteps matter and how bad things can get people in power to try to. This is why I've been like rereading this like multiple times. When people in power try to bypass proper security and oversight. Before we jump in, yeah, and then we'll go into that. But that's basically the intro there. That's what I'm planning to cover in the video. I'm not caring about, oh, you're a Democrat, oh, you're a Republican, you know. Like, I'm not going to go about F Trump. I mean, yeah, I'm not a fan of Trump. But I'm coming at this from the angle of, as a cybersecurity professional, let's remove government from the equation for a second, even though like part of it has to do with FedRAMP and, you know, there are government confidentiality and all that kind of stuff into it. If a company executive were to communicate official business outside of government channels that they then couldn't be audited for, this would be just as bad. Well, maybe not as bad because we're not talking about national security. And we do talk about like things like System Signal 7, Signal's weakness when it comes to using PSTN. Don't get me wrong, Signal is a great app for the average everyday user, but it's not an app I would ever recommend official government communications go over, because there's the whole aspect of identity and access management that is completely being missed and discussed. And that exact idea of identity and access management would have prevented this kind of blunder from happening in the first place. Because how did this all happen? They accidentally added a journalist to a group. And I forgot who it was that said it, but the cover-up is worse than the crime. That's the overall problem with it. No, Signal is safe. It's a matter of using the right tool for the job. Like, let me put it this way, and I use this analogy in my paper. You can use a high-performance sports car to tow, to tow a trailer. But it's not the right tool for the job. You would use a truck that has a better transmission geared for the job. The sports car may technically have as much, if not more, horsepower than the truck. But the truck has a transmission that is built to actually do the towing. That's what it comes down to. Have you ever used Dynatrace or for cloud and system monitoring? No, I have not. For depending on what you're talking about, I've used Wiz, we've used Tenable, we've used AWS CloudTrail, things like that. There's Ansible. Can I play Fortnite on Linux? No, because Fortnite, along with other games, uses stupid kernel-level anti-cheat, doesn't work. So my advice would be, pick a better game. It's not a fault of Linux. It's the fault of the developer not doing proper things. The email server was talked about plenty. And that's the other thing. And that's what upsets me about Trump. Politics aside, Trump spent years going after Hillary Clinton. Not a fan of Hillary Clinton either. Let me make that very clear. Lock her up, for the, email server and everything. But here he is having his administration basically do the same thing. And then, when they are caught with their pants down, is just accusing them of being Trump haters. At a certain point, you gotta understand the buck stops here. you had people in your administration do things with sensitive document handling that was not only unethical, but it could have been illegal. And it was no better, if not worse, than what Hillary Clinton did. If you're going to hold someone to a standard, then you yourself must be held to that same standard too. That is my point. I don't care if you're Democrat, I don't care if you're Republican, but that is the honest truth. EAC has support for Linux, they just don't want to enable it for some reason. Yep. Kernel level anti-cheat is gross. Absolutely. Developer wants too much power over your system. Yeah. Developers need to, like, get away from this whole idea of kernel level anti-cheat is, you know, something you need for video games. It's a goddamn video game. Okay? I have an entire YouTube video I talked about where, kernel level anti-cheat is dumb and a disaster waiting to happen. It really is. A lot of people are still not familiar with the fact that Genshin Impact had their kernel level anti-cheat co-opted in an attack. And when I say co-opted, they took the kernel level anti-cheat component from the game, separated it from the game, used it as part of the delivery package to disable antivirus on the target systems. They didn't need Genshin Impact installed. They used the kernel level anti-cheat from Genshin Impact to disable the antivirus on the systems and do their damage. And apparently for years, I got the sources in the video I'm talking about, whoever's the maker of Genshin Impact was alerted to this. Somebody released a proof of concept code. They chose to do nothing about it. Video game developers are not security software developers. Say what you will about the CrowdStrike incident that happened in July. CrowdStrike is a security company. They write security software. All in all, they did rectify the problem within like 6 hours of discovery, and ever since then, they've implemented better controls over file channel updates. I know, I've seen them firsthand. Now we have better control over pausing those things. CrowdStrike implemented that feature within a couple of weeks after the incident happened. But several years go by and Genshin Impact didn't do that. And you can't hold video game developers to the standard of they're actually going to fix security issues. Because, like, let's look at Apex Legends. Apex Legends had this two-faced statement. It was EA specifically. Apex Legends used to work on Linux. I used to play it. Then they suddenly said, we're dropping Linux support because we want a kernel-level anti-cheat because, and this is the funny thing, they said most of the cheaters were using Linux, but at the same time, they were speaking out the other side of their mouth saying, there's not enough people playing on Linux for us to support it. So which is it? Most of the cheaters are Linux, or there's not enough people playing on it to support it, because by that virtue of most of the cheaters being on Linux, that would imply there are plenty of people playing on Linux. But yeah. Is there anything you can do to help with access management with biometric to open the app? No. When we're talking about access management, we're not talking about biometrics. We're talking about identity providers. We're talking about, so when you're in a corporate environment, and I'll get into this more as I write the video, you use systems like Okta, Duo, Microsoft Entra, Jump Cloud, and you create, with these identity providers, single sign-on systems. And then you have your applications linked in with SAML, Security Assertion Markup Language, or OIDC, Open Identity Connect, which is an OAuth thing. Anyway, how these work is that instead of logging into every single app, you have a different username and password. They have a certificate that actually communicates in a protocol back to the identity provider to actually authenticate against it, and then allows you into the app. This allows for centralized management and control. What I mean by that is every time you log in, I can tell not only that you logged in, but from when, where, and what device. This is part overall of what you need in a zero trust system. And then with IDPs and everything like that, I can layer zero trust on top of it, which then means I have the ability to check if your device is in compliance. That means your browser is up to date, your system is patched, you are on an operating system we agree with, and you have, whatever security posture requirements. Like, say, you must have CrowdStrike installed. You must have, Kaspersky or whatever the hell. I don't know why I said Kaspersky. I don't really use that. But you get the point. You must have these things installed. And your system must be configured in such a way. And, for example, if you want to do a country block, like, for example, I'm in a corporation that's in America. Let's just say that as an example. I'm not expecting anyone to ever log in from China. So if you happen to be connecting in from a Chinese IP, banned. That I can do that in zero trust policies. And that's where cybersecurity is all about, layering on all the security. Cybersecurity isn't about, one and done. It's about having layers on top of it. Now, you can have biometrics like Windows Hello tied into, say, Okta. And then your device, once you have a biometric login and you're logged in on your laptop, it then automatically, lets you authenticate into everything without having to do that. Some people have the push application on their phone where, you have the Okta, Duo, Jump Cloud, whatever app, and you hit, yeah. I use SSO even on my projects. I use Cloudflare web application firewall. See, yeah, like there's many options out there. Cloudflare has their own. I'm sure Linux gaming users will see an uptick once Windows 10 goes EOL later this year. There's already a lot of people gaming on Linux. I think a lot of people forget that the Steam Deck is natively Linux. Kaspersky. Yeah, I haven't used that in a long time. There are some serious questions around the ties to the Russian government. I forgot what is there. India's blocked by default. Yeah, see, like, if I'm not expecting, like, I do it with my own IDP. With zero trust and everything. I block certain countries. I can also be alerted. So now when you're in the government, or a corporation, or anything, in order to log into a company or government chat, like let's say Microsoft Teams, Matrix has this capability, Matrix Protocol. You've heard me talk about this messenger all the time. The French government has, what is it, T-Chap, I think it is? It's built on Matrix. It has SAML built in, and that way, when you log in with the identity provider in the French government that complies with the policies, you can log into Matrix, and Matrix then can federate and have encrypted chats and all that stuff. Teams, Slack, they all have this feature too. It's a pretty standard feature across enterprise software to have SAML or at least OIDC support. You're just talking amongst yourselves. Okay. Since it's government phone, isn't there already an SSO system to even unlock the phone? So, it's not SSO to unlock the phone. Your phone's unlocked and then can be used as an authentication device. So, for example, I can't really show you, but Okta. Okta's on my work phone. I can open the Okta app to approve when I'm logging into apps on my Windows device. Or, sometimes I may have to open the Okta app inside of my phone to approve me logging into other things. Not always. But when it comes to the phone, the issue is that Signal is dependent upon PSTN, Public Switch Telephony Network, or damn it, what is the acronym? I feel like that's not the correct way. Publicly Switched Telephone Network. Yeah, okay, I was right. What that means is that's a system that's been around since the 1970s. That is a system that is built implicitly on trust, combined with System Signaling 7. signaling system 7, system signal 7. Anyway, what that is that when you're roaming, you're on your phone, going between towers. It has this implied trust between different towers that you're doing things properly. The problem is trust can be abused. So there are attacks out there. The average person doesn't need to worry about it. Don't lose sleep over this. But if you're a high-profile person, like, I don't know, a government official running the Department of Defense, you are a potential target for this. And what it can do is everyone's worried about SIM swapping, SIM hijacking, right? But that requires a lot of social engineering. You must contact a telephone employee. You must have access to telephone systems. And you must be able to social engineer someone to take someone's SIM card virtually and apply it on another SIM card to route all communications to that device. And on your phone, you will know what happens because your signal will drop. However, SS7 attacks don't do that. They take advantage of the roaming system, and this is a flaw in cell phones up to 4G, 5G, if I'm not mistaken. And until all towers are gone with 2G, 3G, this is going to be a problem, but that's not going to be ending until about 2030. And we can route texts and calls to any phone we desire without you being aware of it. Now, if Signal is dependent on PSTN, and I can route your number, your verification code, when you go to request it to another device, I can then hijack your session. This is something only people that would potentially be the target of nation-state actors really need to worry about. Like, people in the United States government that are high up and happen to be running, I don't know, the Department of Defense. That's why Signal is not a secure medium for government officials to be conducting business over officially on that. There is encrypted channels like, JWIX, I think it is, and SIPRnet, and then you also have SCIFs. Those are ways that you actually securely communicate things. If the government, now I know for the fact the government does use Microsoft. They use Microsoft products. Them doing this over Microsoft Teams with an IDP that, was zero trusted and everything, that would have been a better solution than using Signal in terms of the protections around those messages than Signal would. And I know everyone's emphasizing, well, Signal's, a little bit more private, encrypted and all that. There's different considerations to that. Secure doesn't always mean secure in the same way. There's different threat modeling that goes on. In terms of this, we're more worried about secure in terms of access than we are worried about the privacy that Signal offers. As an everyday user, I love Signal. Signal's fine for the everyday user, for you, me, and other people to communicate with. We're nobodies. But they're literally targets of nation-state actors. Totally forgot that it was linked to the phone number. Yep. Even if you... Now, the great thing about Signal is you can give each other usernames, but ultimately that session is tied to your PSTN phone number. I wonder if the Signal chat logs will be recoverable. No, not really. So there will only be metadata. But allegedly, from my understanding, they set that chat to delete messages after 7 days. It seemed like to me they are more worried about avoiding accountability and the ability for the United States government to have records kept. Then yeah. So hypothetically, if this issue was over Matrix, would this still be as large of an issue? No. Provided it was secured, as I mentioned, using an identity provider with a SAML connection. SAML is built in to a lot of Matrix front ends, like Element. It has that built in. The French government is using TCHAP, if I remember. I gotta remember if that's how it's called. TCHAP, la messagerie instantanée des secteurs du public. Yeah. So the government is using this. République Française. Bienvenue sur le TREP. Is it TCHAP or CHAP? I think it's just CHAP. The T is silent. La messagerie instantanée du secteur public. So I'll translate this for y'all. Je parle petit peu en français. Oh. Probably helps if there's an English button right there. There you go. This right here, designed and managed by the French administration for agents of the 3 public functions to communicate easily with high security standards. This is built on Matrix. This is used by the French government, officially. If the United States government had Matrix and did the same thing, be fine. I know the German Bundeswehr, I think it is, also has Matrix. And the cool thing is, the French government could then federate to the United States and have an encrypted chat between their 2 different servers on their own sovereign soil. That would be totally okay. How is the government using an app that lets you add random civilians and leak information? Because they're trying to bypass government-approved channels so that they can bypass the ability to be audited and held accountable. And it backfired royally. I know Russia and Ukraine uses Discord for FPV videos. I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure if that's official government. But that it can also just be like media. Showing it for media. It's official. That would be more about... There are things that they're not really too concerned about. Trust me, if they're trying to be a little bit more secure, that's not the main method. Most people use Telegram and think that is encrypted. Yeah, that's because they're freaking morons. Telegram, I have railed on regularly. It is not that secure. It is not that private. And that's why Telegram got their butt handed to them in the European, court system? Justice system. Because of the severe amount of lack of moderation they had when everything was completely open. WhatsApp and Signal have at least the answer of plausible deniability because they don't have access to their own chats. Telegram had access to all the chats this whole time because group chats and most individual chats are not encrypted. And you can only encrypt a one-on-one chat with their, I forget what their proprietary protocol is. Did they say who was to blame for this leak? Yeah. They added the editor of The Atlantic. Jeffrey Goldberg, I think is his name. They added a journalist who leaked all of this. I think it was, his name is Mike Waltz, who is a national security advisor. Let that sink in. Someone that is supposed to advise on national security accidentally added a reporter to a Signal chat. And that's how this whole thing broke out in the news. Though they blamed Goldberg for it, but Goldberg was just doing his job as a journalist when a story fell in his lap. Goldberg honestly couldn't believe it until the actual bomb started dropping in Yemen. And they had confirmation that this was, in fact, a legitimate chat. Goldberg's not at fault for the leak. He is just doing his job as a journalist. Pete Hegseth and Marco Rubio and Mike Waltz and all these people who were in the chat voluntarily, knowing full well they shouldn't be communicating over that, are at fault. And they are avoiding accountability. Yeah, Goldberg did everything right. He even redacted a lot of the information to protect the United States military and any, armed forces from harm. But then the Trump administration kept hammering on them, oh, it's a lie, no classified information was leaked or anything. And that's when Goldberg just said, you're not going to admit to this? Fine. Unleash the cavalry! And just, let all the messages out. The thing I've learned, yeah. And again, I'm not Team Red, I'm not Team Blue, unless we're talking about red teaming and blue teaming and cybersecurity. I'm not a fan of Democrats, I'm not a fan of Republicans. I will hold whoever is in power accountable for whatever the actions that they do. If y'all haven't been around long enough, you saw when I was holding Joe Biden accountable. Before I was making content, I was holding Obama accountable. I was holding Trump accountable. I was holding, as long as I've been, an adult that's actually been informed about politics, I've been holding whatever leader accountable for their shit. All right, so, Crispy, I already answered your question on Firewall. I don't know. It's hard to say. Is Firefox more secure and private than DuckDuckGo? Just use Firefox with the DuckDuckGo search engine. Now, as far as secure, the only way to be completely secure on the internet is to be unplugged from the internet. As far as private, yeah. What are some free, cheap certifications I can do to get started in cybersec? There's not really many worthwhile free ones, but I hear good things about Security Plus. I'm saying it that way because the only cert that I have is CISSP. I will always tell you, it's more important. So let me get this out of the way. A lot of people have the misnomer that there are entry-level positions in cybersecurity. Entry-level in cybersecurity doesn't mean what you think it does. Entry-level in cybersecurity is usually where you already understand a little bit about IT. You have 2 to 3 years experience in IT to understand the systems that you have to secure. So you at least have some conceptual knowledge of IT. So you are going to be working basic IT positions for at least a few years before you can get to that level. I know that's hard for a lot of people to understand, but that's the truth. And that's why I really think that people need to stop thinking about that they're going to go to college and come out doing cybersecurity. It can happen, but it's improbable, not impossible. So temper your realistic expectations. You're going to be working IT, help desk, and all that, and paying your dues to get your business, to get your wings started and everything. Home lab. I cannot emphasize that enough. Tinker with tech. And if you're in the Discord, by the way, I'll share this with y'all. If you're in the Discord, we have a PDF that is pinned right at the top. HBX was kind enough to share this with us. It's a 600-page PDF with tons of ideas to get you started with home labbing and everything. I wish this was actually around when I started, because I was kind of fumbling in the dark with a lot of my home labbing and just being like, can I do this? Can I do that? Home lab with this. This is going to teach you a lot, because the honest truth is certs at most tell that you know concepts. You need to learn how to take the concept and apply that knowledge. The application of knowledge is more important than the concept of knowledge. So you can find this in our Discord. It's under the pinned messages. It's from February 28th. It's over there. Is Google really selling its users' data? Is it illegal? No. It's not illegal. They are selling users' data. That's how they make money. It's not illegal because, well, in America, let me put it this way. You know how in Canada you have Pipeta? I think it's Canada that's Pipeta. In South Africa, you have Popia. In China, you have Pipple. In Europe, you have GDPR. You know what we have in the United States of America? Not a damn thing. Seriously, there's very, very little privacy protections outside of HIPAA, high tech, and HIPAA doesn't cover everything that they actually, people think it is. Like the whole 23andMe situation, that's not covered by HIPAA. You heard 23andMe is going bankrupt, right? The data is considered an asset, and they're selling that. Oh yeah, it's going to be hell bad. And that's why I've been telling people for years, I have zero interest whatsoever in freely handing my data, genetic data, to any company that can use that. People have no idea how bad data collection is in America. So, let's put it this way. Protection of Personal Information Act, POPIA, you can sue if they leak your stuff. Yeah, but not in America. Because you know what America's like? First off, fuck your bitch in the click you claim. So, does California privacy law cover most of what GDPR does? Yeah. So if you're in California, you do have some protections. California also confused a few things because, as I've talked about before, a lot of people were knee-jerking the Mozilla Terms of Service when they were trying to comply with CCPA and other privacy laws. CCPA considers selling data as exchanging or sharing data. There doesn't have to be a monetary exchange. Thank you for the follow, Nitin. Wait, did my alerts not come through? It must have happened when I did the Tupac sound. What is the best free email for privacy? Okay, let me get this out of the way. In almost all cases, if you're not paying for the product, you are the product. However, there are two exceptions to this rule. And I will make a disclaimer, I'm affiliated with both of them, but as you know me, I only affiliate with things that I actually believe in. Proton Mail and Tuta. Yes, I got an affiliate from Tuta. God damn it, I forgot to set that up. Hold up. You know what I also forgot? I gotta, set up my, thing. But yeah, Proton's pretty good. I've been using them for years. Started using Proton Pass for my two-factor codes. Is that something you recommend, or should they be separate? So I've talked about this a little bit before. It's with security, it's there's a line between security and convenience. You can segment these things as much as you want. Now, as me personally, I put whatever possible on my YubiKeys. This is my 5 Nano over here. You can get them in various different form factors. Like these little 5Cs over here and 5CIs. YubiKey is the gold standard when it comes to multi-factor authentication. And you can put your TOTP codes on there. I also back them up offline in a KeyPass XC database and then triple encrypt them with Veracrypt. And keep those offline. In case I need it. What happens if you lose your YubiKey? Well, I don't know how to say this except, Sorry, Miss Jackson. You're basically SOL, which is why we have multiples. We have multiple YubiKeys. Have a backup. Have a backup for all the different things you're doing. If you're thinking of getting a YubiKey, get 2 YubiKeys. No joke. I'm not saying that as like, buy more YubiKeys. You know, give them more money. I'm saying that as in, if you lose a YubiKey, the reality is you need to think about that eventuality of if it gets lost, if it gets broken. You know, it just happens. I lost a YubiKey. I've lost several YubiKeys over the years. Yeah, single point of failure is a bad idea. It always is. Get an affiliate link for YubiKeys. I got that in the links in bio. Y'all can check my links in bio for that. Which reminds me, hold up. Hold up, hold up, hold up, hold up. 1 second. I'm gonna get that Tuda link. It's gonna be quiet for 1 second, all right? And using the YubiKey. All right, there we go. All right, so I knew I forgot to do something before stream. All right, come on. Just getting that set up. I'm getting that link for y'all. For the tutas. All right. Hold up. Where did I do? No. All right. Getting to tutas. There we go. All right. If you now go to my links in bio, you should see right below the YubiKey 5C NFC links. I'll show that for you. All right, if you go to links.chiefgeek3d.com or check the links in bio, you can then go over, we'll go and do this together. I gotta add it over here in a sec. But if you go under product recs, you'll see these are all the things I recommend. I even have over here Meshtastic LoRa. There will be a section, by the way, for amateur radio, because I'm working on getting my ham licenses and all that figured out. Give that a few weeks. I'm getting some tests taken care of. But you'll see Tuda's over here, Proton Mail's over here. I approve of both of these systems for email. I've used them both for years. They're both great providers. Yep, but I am affiliated with them. Tuda's a great company. Proton's a great company. Tuda and Proton, they got two different, they're both privacy-focused philosophies. Proton is based in Switzerland. Tuda is based in Germany. Tuda does have a little bit more in terms of, like, the privacy aspects of the subjects and all that with email, but let's be honest here, email isn't that really secure nor private. It's just the way it is. But Proton is a nice suite of tools of everything, because with Proton, you get the password manager. I like Proton Password Personal, and it has the ability to alias your email. So when people, like, have your credentials and they leak them, what they try to do is they spray your passwords across all the accounts that you have everywhere. If you have them aliased so that every single account has a different email alias, it makes it harder to guess. But they then all forward to the same email. So Proton, really great suite overall. Plus they have the VPN in there. As I always say before, don't treat a VPN like a magic silver bullet and everything. And if you don't understand what I mean by that, go over to YouTube. I got a 40-minute video or so delving into how a VPN is not a magic silver bullet, and how, you know, there's a lot of misinformation and overhyping around them. They're a great tool when you understand how they work and the limitations around them. VPNs were designed primarily for secure remote access. They weren't designed for privacy. Is Molbad the best VPN for privacy? Again, as I was saying before, they are better in terms of privacy, as I've talked about. But don't depend on a VPN to guarantee you privacy, because the reality is most websites are not tracking you through your IP address. They're tracking you through the cookies that they're installing when you browse. Cybersecurity is not just about having one layer and being done. Cybersecurity, think of it like an onion. Onions have layers. You have to think in the same way. Let's think about, like, medieval castles. Do medieval castles only depend on the strength in their walls? No. They often have a drawbridge, maybe a moat, maybe, you know, some archers up in the turrets. You know, there's additional defenses in a castle. They don't just depend on one thing, and neither should you. So it's not just, oh, I'm going to use the VPN, I'm going to be private. No, you got to think about your browser. You got to think about how you're accessing the internet. Instead of, not how you're accessing, but how you're using the internet. People think too much about how you access the internet, but not how you use the internet. If you're going to get on a VPN and then just hop on Facebook, you're not doing a damn thing. Okay? All you're doing is you're just changing your IP. If you're on your own network, it won't make much difference what VPN you got. Exactly. If you're on your own network, a trusted network, it's not really going to help. It may help in the case of getting around a geo-block, but you're not really caring about privacy in that case. You're caring about the ability for you to access a site that is blocked for geopolitical or geographical reasons. Which browser do you recommend using, Android or iPhone? Which browser? Do you mean operating system? So let me... Yeah, I'm a little confused by that, friend. Do you mean what phone operating system? Because browser, that's totally different. You could have a ton of different browsers on a phone. If you're talking about a phone... Out of the box, the best phone for privacy and security is an iPhone. Out of the box. We're talking without doing any customizations, more than flipping a few switches and not having to install any, you know, different software or anything. Yeah, it would probably be an iPhone with Safari because of the way that they have it tied in with Apple Private Relay and the whole defenses and all that stuff. But if you're talking about overall most secure, and that's with you buy a phone, you modify the core software with another operating system that is in stock. That would be a Pixel phone with Graphene OS. I know some people say, what about the Nothing phone? What about... Graphene containerizes and secures a lot of things much, much better. That's just how it is. In fact, on that note, I'm thinking of switching entirely from my iPhone 15 as a daily driver in the next coming months. I gotta test out some stuff. To Graphene OS on a Pixel 10 when they come out. And getting a Pixel Watch to do my contactless payments. Might get a phone from Rob Braxton. Why? Who's Rob Braxton? Why does that name sound familiar? Oh, that dude. I've seen some of his videos, but there's a few things where I kind of raise an eyebrow at him. Not trying to disrespect him by any means. I've not seen too much. He does tell some truth, but there's also some things in there where it's sensationalist. I'm just being honest. You can't say Safari is more secure than Tor on Android. Tor's not that secure. It's private. It's not that secure. And you're not going to be using Tor for average everyday browsing, buddy. This is a complete apples and oranges argument. That's on Signal Chat Leak. A little late. G48, 480. I'm working on a YouTube video. I've been writing a script for it. I'm hoping to record the video tomorrow. And, hoping to have the video out maybe Sunday, Monday at latest, hopefully. It's kind of tough to balance content creation and a job. You asked him about a few weeks ago. Oh. I don't know. But I don't remember. Look, dude, I don't even remember what I had for breakfast yesterday, okay? It's been a long couple weeks. Can you still use payment banking apps on Graphene OS? So, banking apps? Yes. Payment apps, insofar as contactless payments with Google Wallet? No. That's why I'm getting the Google Watch, the Pixel Watch, with LTE, because that can do payments. So the reason why isn't a fault of Graphene OS per se. In order for Google Pay, Google Wallet Pay, whatever the hell they call it, they change the name all the time, to work in a phone that's Android. Excuse me, I got the hiccups. It must be signed by Google. Obviously, Graphene OS, by the nature of how they do things, doesn't have that luxury. So, unblock user tech you requested. Let me put it this way. If I blocked a person, I have a very high tolerance for things, but probably if I blocked them, I did it for good reasons. So, denied. Or, in the words of Redman,
oh, that's when I smack the shit out you. I smack the shit out you.
Most apps are web apps anyway, so not hard to make for whatever OS. Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of apps out there that are really just wrappers for a website. You see it all the time where you can look at a website. Yeah, Marco, I'm back on TikTok, but for how long? TikTok gets kind of weird with their rules and, you know, how they allow people and everything. Pixel Watch for payments. Would you accept payments that way too, like Venmo, Cash App, Zelle? You wouldn't need the watch for that. You need the watch for contactless payments. So if you're using your credit card You would need that. Those are just regular apps. Those are just regular Android apps. Doesn't need that. Specifically, tap to pay. That's the only limitation. The NFC side of it. I use Revolut, it's very good. I've heard some people like it, but yeah. What's your thoughts on crypto, I'm presuming cryptocurrency, versus traditional payment methods? It's a thing. Cryptocurrency does work better for cross-border payments than a lot of traditional card systems. I've used it for a few actual, like, legitimate payment purchases. Like my Mastodon server. It's actually cheaper for me and the actual host service to get paid in cryptocurrency because we don't have to worry about a credit card processing fee. So think about that. There's pros and cons to every single solution out there. I'm not saying cryptocurrency is like an amazing solution. There are, of course, issues around it too, but there are issues around credit card systems too. Unless it's Tether, too volatile. I don't like Tether. I like USDC personally. Does A71 support Graphene OS? No, Graphene OS only really works on Pixels. Do you recommend that everyone in the world switch to an iPhone? I don't recommend anyone switch to everything entirely. It's a use case thing. So, iPhone is a great solution out the box for the average person to at least get a decent amount of privacy and security. But I don't like Apple for a lot of Apple things. And mind you, okay? This isn't from a person that hates Apple. Well, you have to think of me as, I'm not an Apple hater. I'm a scorned Apple user. Here's my MacBook that I used to have. 2011 MacBook Pro. My old iPod. Kept this alive for about 20 years. Here's my old router. An Apple Airport Express. And I'd use an iPhone. The iPhone is the last piece of Apple hardware I am personally using. Apple just hasn't innovated in years. That's the problem. Everyone thinks Apple is this amazing company that innovates and everything. They don't. Not in a few years. Not since Jobs has passed. And I'm not saying Jobs was the innovation behind it, but he was the last spirit of Apple's innovation. The real brains behind a lot of what Apple made, what made Apple, was Steve Wozniak and Johnny Ives. Those were the people that did a lot. But Steve Jobs, as much of a prick as he is, and you can go look this up, read his biography, he was kind of a prick. He at least pushed the boundaries. Yeah, Jobs is a great marketing guy. But Apple hasn't really innovated. And for everyone out there that's going to say, well, what about the Apple M series? Apple was the last operating system to support ARM CPUs. I hate to break it to you. Yes, they might do it a little bit better, but that's because they have a unified ecosystem. They have tight integration control over everything. But even the Apple M series is falling short in many different categories. And Apple M series would have never needed to happen if they just frickin' stuck with PowerPC. Because all they did is they moved from RISC, went to CISC, and went back to RISC. New season on the 4th. Are you playing, and what's your plan on how to take off and start earning divs? What are you talking about? I'm a little confused. Season of what? Apple has been pushing the same with a different name down our throats for the past 9 years. Exactly. The iPhone. Oh, Path of Exile 2. Oh, yeah, I need to start playing Path of Exile 2 again. Yeah, I've been waiting for them to add new content because I didn't want to rush it too hard. But I also think I'm going to start with a new class if I go to Path of Exile 2. It was a great game. I love it. I'm looking forward to playing it again. Cheeseburger. The PDF. Here, let me show you. If you're in the Renegade Penguin Discord, I'll show you where you go. You go to the pinned messages right here. Top. Right there. There's a little thumbtack to the top right. At least if you're looking at desktop. I don't know where it is on phone, but somebody can maybe comment in the chat about how that works on Discord. Right there, HBX, here's a good guide. Building virtual labs. Virtual machine labs. This one, right here. 14.5 megabyte PDF. It's in the general chat, by the way. It's in the main chat room. So I bought my M1 Max for nothing. I wouldn't say for nothing, but you definitely spent a lot of money. Let me put it in this way. Have you seen the new laptop that I bought? Are you a programmer? No. Cybersecurity engineer. Apple really fumbled with the Vision Pro and the Apple Intelligence AI delay. Well, Apple Intelligence was absolute BS, as was the Vision Pro. I remember for years people were like, well, I don't want to do a VR and AR until Apple comes out with their version. Have we heard a peep since Vision Pro came out? It's like it came out, and then it just went, hold on. I don't want to use AR, period. No, don't get me wrong. Augmented reality has some serious applications, at least in the industrial space. Like when Google Glass came out, that thing looked amazing. At least from an application standpoint of what you could do. It's the same thing as a cybersecurity engineer and programming. No, it's not. They are different things. For one, cybersecurity engineers often yell at programmers for hard coding their credentials. Cybersecurity engineers might run the code secure platform. What's up, Kryptonite? How you doing, bud? Who hard code their credentials? Programmers. Because, every time cybersecurity walks in to a lot of software developers, it's going to be like this. Hey, see tomorrow, little boy, you gonna learn. I use M files and vars. I don't do that. I have variables call upon my secrets manager. Whether it be Doppler, AWS Secrets Management, or HashiCorp Vault. I don't store the credentials on the local machine. I have my code, call it upon run from the secrets manager. And the secrets manager can also potentially rotate the key. Where's that home labber PDF that you showed earlier? On the Discord already. General chat. Go to the general chat, pinned messages. It should be the most recent pinned file. I'll eventually grab it and host it somewhere so that I can have it in my links for y'all. Time to start using a secrets manager. Oh, yeah. If you want a good one, This is a great one. I've used them for years. I did do some content for them. I'm just going to disclaim that, okay? But it is a great one. This is Doppler. Doppler.com. They have a free version for up to 3 users. Start learning this. AWS has a secrets manager, but they charge you per call, even though it's like thousandths of a penny each call. There's also HashiCorp Vault that's free, but I like Doppler's solution quite a lot. It's really nice. Yep, it's free. I'm only on use. There you go. Use this. You'll be happy, because then the great thing is, let's say you have an automated process and you need to change the key. You don't have to change the key in your code. You change the key in your secrets manager, and when it's called upon next, it will pull that key. You're not a programmer and you're a cybersecurity engineer. They're 2 completely different things, buddy. I'm going to introduce you to this thing, Friend Tech, okay? Hold on. It's called Let Me Google That for you. Difference between a programmer and a cybersecurity engineer. Okay. And then you just, do that. We'll copy that. And then we do the thing. And then look. You type the thing in Google. And then you do this magical thing called click the button of Google search. I forgot my firewall messes with it. That's why I make my cybersecurity engineers be technical. Yeah. Cybersecurity engineers occasionally do scripting and all that, but we're more focused on the infrastructure and how we architect the entire system to be more secure. Programmers just make code. That's the difference. Cybersecurity engineers don't always have to be programmers. But programmers are almost certainly not, in the most cases, cybersecurity engineers. As a developer, before I knew about secret management, I got obliterated by our cybersec engineering. Yup! Oh, we will come down on you hard when we find hard-coded credentials. So we use, platforms like there's, you want secure code management? Here's a couple platforms for you. So on the enterprise level, there's Veracode. But most of us are too broke of a bitch to be able to use that. So we can use this. This is a great platform to analyze your code. And, bonus part, it's free. Welcome to snick.io. They have a free plan over here. You can hook your projects into your little Git stash or whatever you have, and it can analyze your code for potential security issues. And it's also really inexpensive if you want to run it as a team, too. Like, seriously, $25 a month per contributing developer? Not that expensive when you consider the prices of code, Veracode. Plug that into your code. It will do the analysis, tell you the issues with your code. And the cool thing is, as you do updates, like with your GitHub and stuff, it'll alert you to the changes. Like, say, if you use an older library that knowingly has vulnerabilities, it'll tell you that. And it can stay on top of that. And it can also, do a bunch of different coding, things like that. So they have, SNCC code, secure your code as it's written, SNCC open source, avoid vulnerable dependencies, SNCC container, keep your base images secure, SNCC IAC for your IAC misconfigurations, and SNCC app risk. So a lot of that is free. And then GitGuardian. GitGuardian's good too. I haven't dealt with them too much, but I've used Snyk. It works all right. Let me check out GitGuardian. I last touched base with them when I was at B-Sides. I don't know, initialize and secrets. It does some things. Okay, so it does security rotations, secrets detections, public monitoring. So it does some things. Don't get me wrong, it does some things. There's nothing wrong with layering your security tools so you like use GitGuardian, Snyk, and Doppler, you know what I mean? There's ways, cybersecurity is about layering on your tools and your products and everything like that. Your company uses SonarCube, not familiar with that one. And unlike ChatGPT will actually be right. I wouldn't say that because a lot of us are using ChatGPT for things, but ChatGPT is okay for like little things and little snippets and all of that. But you need to understand the code that it is creating, not just take it and like run with it. I use it quite a bit to build what I would call scaffolding for my code. It may not actually be the final source, but yeah. Yeah, we're getting B-sides again here. Pretty happy with highlight.ai. Not familiar with that. What was the other thing I was going to talk about? Oh, thanks for the subscription, Dreadnought, over on the YouTube side of things. My sub notifications and overlay for subs are definitely not working. Yeah. Stream Elements has been a dick. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. Look, man, I just work here. Claude is better than ChatGPT for that stuff by far. Yes and no. It depends on what. Although, yeah. Crap. What was I going to talk about? GitGuardian, Snyk. We talked about Doppler. Crap. I know I'm forgetting something. You're an ethical hacker? I mean, yeah, a little bit, but... You ever jump into things like Hack the Box or CTF comps? No. I don't got time for that shit. No offense to anyone who does. I just don't have time for it because I'm busy working, I'm busy making content, and then when I don't have, when I'm not doing that, I'm studying for other things. Like right now, I'm in the middle of studying for my CCSP and amateur radio. And then next year, I'm looking at possibly going after my OSCP. I already got my CISSP. I'm trying to shift more into purple, but I'm definitely more on the blue team side. I'm red team in terms of physical penetration. Lock picking, physical breaches, things like that. Yeah, I do a lot of that. What do you think of security of card tokenization using Google Wallet or Apple Pay? You talking about where it like randomizes some of the information with your credit card and stuff like that when it goes to pay, so it doesn't actually give you the actual credit card when you pay? I think it's nice as an additional layer. Don't get me wrong. Everything is fallible. Nothing is perfect. But yeah. What was it I was thinking of? This is gonna bug me. Like, I'm gonna probably remember it right after I finish the stream, too. Is Google's encryption of the device using the Google account even significant? No. I don't trust what Google does with a lot of their specific things like that. Because the thing is, Google makes money off of collecting your data. Stock Android is a snitch. I like the Google Pixel, but with Graphene OS, or at least Calyx. If they steam my debit card, they'll find a broker. Oh, steal my debit card, they'll find I'm broker than they are. You mean like if the guy steals the card, he's gonna give it back to you with $25 and say, "I'm sorry, here's the gas money"? I have a Z Fold 5. Will your other OS options for Android work with the folding capabilities and basically having two separate screens? No. Currently, Graphene OS and Calyx, to my knowledge, only work on Pixel. But did Google create Graphene OS? Buddy. Not trying to be mean here, but Google is a thing. Graphene OS is an open source project based on Android. The short answer is no. Well, I need to regen all the tokens myself because I make a Discord bot for creating servers in Pterodactyl. I mean, you could probably do that, have it pull the Discord tokens from Doppler, and then you could just manage all the tokens in Doppler or whatever. I don't know how it works. Unify or Cisco? Depends on what you're trying to do. Cisco, you're going to get in skew hell, where they're going to sell you every freaking nickel and dime under the sun, and then you're going to be like, oh, here's a quote for, this product, and you're going to realize, oh, they've got, got a license that you don't have. Now, if you're a small business, and you just need your crap to work, Unify. I use Unify access points in my house and everything. But Cisco, so many SKUs, so many licensing costs, so much nickel and diming. If I had the money, I'd go Aruba. Google owns Android. Why would they make their own competition? And pterodactyl tokens are also manually created in the admin panel. Yeah, but then if you use Doppler, you don't have to actually log into the device to modify the code or wherever you're having it hosted. You could then have it called upon from Doppler, like say if it's an AWS Lambda function, or maybe you're running it through an EC2 or even a Raspberry Pi. You can have that code in place, and then if you need to rotate the key, grab it from whatever service, in this case Pterodactyl, then drop it in to Doppler, and then you don't have to rewrite the thing. Why is it not good for Android to be open source? That's not what we're saying, dude. No one's saying open source is bad for Android. We're saying Android is open source. So anyone can fork it. Meraki licensing made me want to bang my head against the wall, so we switched to Unify. Yeah, they're great. What's up, CK? Unify is really great in terms of simplistic licensing and the simplicity of setting up the thing. But I would say, well, they're starting to change this, but I would say I wouldn't recommend Unify outside of small business and small to medium enterprise. Marco, before I got introduced into Fortinet access points, I went with the Cisco. Currently, Fortinet has my love. They have a lot of security issues as of late that the Department of Defense even ripped out every single Fortinet out of their networks. Like, no, joke. This was a serious problem going on for a while. There were, quite a few issues with them. Fortinet are the least of the concerns now. Yeah, it's dumbass top officials using unapproved apps without identity and access management. But yeah, Fortinet had some problems. Yeah. I like Fortinet, too, don't get me wrong. But, they kind of been dropping the ball for a while. We decommissioned 300 Fortinet appliances at the DC. Yeah, you were telling me about that when they started pulling them out. We're like, there's something big happening y'all can't talk about yet. When you're like, we're pulling out a bunch of Fortinets. And I'm like, something happened, and it's not just a licensing deal. Like, you don't just rip out 300 devices because you want to renegotiate your license. If you did, you would have planned for that well in advance of the license expiration. But when you started saying, like, yeah, we pulled a few hundred Fortinet devices out of where we work, I'm like, something's about to drop and you can't talk about it because you were embargoed from talking about it, probably. Or you were at least on a need-to-know basis and just told, rip that crap out. Am I wrong? Exactly. Yeah. I know when to keep my mouth shut when I'm like, 300 devices. And you're like, kind of weird. We were just pulling out all these Fortinet devices. And I'm like, you're telling us something you can't tell us. Well, not like that, but you're not telling us the whole story. And it was one of those situations of like, I'm not going to ask. It will come out in due time. Could you talk about some of the vulnerabilities? Well, they were breaching corporate networks and installing ransomware behind them. And there was just a lot of different issues. Let me see. Is this the same exploit they're talking about? Yeah, there's a couple. One of the there were several vulnerabilities. CVE. Hold on, let's pull up these. Okay, these are 2 vulnerabilities. I think there was a few more than these. What do you think about Sophos? They're okay. They're a little bit more popular, I think, over in the UK, if I'm not mistaken. They're all right. I used to deploy Sophos firewalls. I just haven't touched them in a while. Had 3 Fortinet on the network. Ripped them out. Felt good. I wonder how Colonel Dump is feeling, because I know he liked his Fortinet. CVE 2024-55591, an authentication bypass using an alternate path or channel vulnerability CWE 288, affecting 40OS version 7.00 through 7.0.16. And 40 proxies 7.0.0 and 7.0.19 and 7.2.0 through 7.2.12. So it's been there for a minute. Allows a remote attacker to gain super admin privileges via crafted request to node.js WebSocket module. Ooh, that's no bueno. And they rated this as a 9.8 out of 10. The other one... God damn it. It's Arctic Wolf. Hold on. How did you do that? I gotta go into the NVD database and... Come on. Do the needful. God damn it! Hold on. I know what happened. Yep, they were able to get super admin from a WebSocket. It's my damn split tunnel. I've been having issues with that. I've been trying to test it out. Okay. So we got that. And then, hold on. Let me grab that other one. So this was the second one. Wait, is this the same one? No, it's different. So it's two different CVEs, from what I can understand. Hold on. Yeah, these are two different CVEs. 1 year apart. An authentication bypass using alternate path or channel vulnerability via crafted CSF proxy requests. So this one using crafted requests to Node.js. Then it was the same thing, but using CSF proxy requests. Same result, gaining super admin privileges. 1 year apart from each other. You can't have your firewall giving super admin. Yeah. That one was also rated to 9.8. Apollo has issues too. Yeah. What is it? Palo Alto. But here's the thing. Theirs was rated an 8.8. Talking about this one. When chained, okay. So if you chain these two together, if you take this one and chain it with this one, you get a doozy. This is a 6.9. Okay? 7.2 under the CVSS 3.x, but under 4.0 it's a 6.9. But then it becomes an 8.8. Yeah. Doozies. The problem is Fortinet had too many too often. And is admin has to be LOL. But yeah, there's quite a few doozies out there. And this is why patch your systems. Vulnerability management. So the two most important things, in my perspective, when it comes to security of your enterprise: training. Training is the most important thing. Train your users, the everyday person, against social engineering and all the other cyber threats out there. Teach them about phishing emails. Teach them about smishing, vishing, all that different thing. The social engineering aspect and training them how to spot that and protect themselves, that's number one. Number two, vulnerability management. Most systems get compromised because of a unpatched exploit or because the human's always the weakest link. Azure or AWS for beginners? I'd say Azure, AWS. AWS is probably going to be used by more companies than Azure. Not to say that people don't use Azure, but there's more capability with AWS than Azure. So the likelihood of being hired for an AWS-related job is higher than Azure. Well, case in point, SolarWinds 123. Oh yeah, we remember. SolarWinds 123. Their password I still can't believe that thing happened. I'd say Azure and AWS are relatively both expensive, but AWS will be nice and give you free credits if you ask nicely. My company is terrible at making believable phishing test emails. So that's why when it comes to making test trainings and all that stuff, there's a couple things I like. Proofpoint has a decent system. And I like these guys. They got a really nice platform. Hawks Hunt. So how they do is they do it in micro trainings. And you can analyze the users over time and gamify the entire system. Gamified training is the best way of training. And you can craft it. And the cool thing about it is, well, they changed it up. They changed up the displays and everything that, made, helped me show it. But it individualized the training. And then what it can do is gradually increase the difficulty, unique to each user. So if a user fails, it doesn't, like, hit you as hard. It'll just lower the difficulty a little bit to rebuild your confidence and then, train you as to what happened there. And of course, your ops team can monitor who actually is falling for the phishing emails and stuff like that. And you can gamify it so they can have high scores, so your company can actually have like little competitions if they want, like, just throwing this out there, but like, win a $50 Amazon gift card if you get the highest score in your team for, Hawks Hunt. Makes sense? That positive reinforcement, gamification of training. Hawks Hunt, I think, has one of the best solutions out there of the whole enchilada. There's no such thing as a perfect system, but I think Hawks Hunt pretty much got it there. I just wish that where I work would deploy it. I deployed it a couple times. It's great. God damn it. Did my chat just donk out? Hold on. My chat app just crapped out on me. Hold on. I'm reopening that because I was just noticing there's a lot of chat missing on my little monitor over here. I gotta probably update the plugin that, brings in the chat. Alright, hold on. Test. Okay. There we go. TikTok, for some reason, doesn't show up the chat over here. So if I didn't answer over there, sorry. I want to see a breach as a cybersecurity person. That would drive you mental. Check out the Optus. There we go. Chat's coming through. I remember when someone in my company, a developer, said to CyberSecEng that he preferred to have older versions of software for less faulty bugs in the new updates. Well, that's the kind of person that we should hold up to the cross and crucify. What to do if my AWS was hacked? Secure your stuff better. That's why I hook up my AWS to an identity provider and I tie everything in with a YubiKey. Layers. Yeah, YubiKey everything. Makes that MFA so tough for them to crack. And your MFA should be enabled. And if they're compromising your assets inside of AWS and not the account, well, then it should just be securing your stuff better. Firewall it. Containerize it. When you say tie with an identity provider, is that like OAuth? If you're using OIDC, yes. But I prefer SAML. With an identity provider, it's like Microsoft Entra, Okta, Duo, Jump Cloud. Those are identity providers. This is identity and access management, which, by the way, is a great part to learn of cybersecurity. Identity and access management is a huge part of cybersecurity. There's literally entire positions around being identity and access management engineers, operations, and it ties into Active Directory and LDAP and all these other things too. So there's on-prem IAM and cloud IAM, but there's also hybrid as well, and Okta does a good job of hybrid. You can also use Microsoft Entra for that potentially too, but Okta does pretty well. Insecure internet-facing API with access to customer records seems bad, right? Your infrastructure is bad and you should feel bad! Just working on learning Linux and running my online life through it, both for my job and home life. Nice. It's definitely a little bit of difference. Wait, what did Optus do? Hold on, I forgot to look them up. Optus. The lesser permissions protocol that is very in tendency right now, I understand, came from IAM. You mean the principle of least privilege? Is that what you're talking about, or am I confusing it? Where are you getting the other comments from? Oh, I'm simulcast to TikTok, Twitch, and YouTube. Look, man, my ADHD makes me go multi-stream. I got people on all platforms, and the honest truth is we don't know what's going to happen to TikTok, because I think the TikTok ban possibly is going to hit on April 5th. Who knows what's going to happen? So, if something does happen, come and find me. Because I won't stop making content if TikTok goes away. I'll just be on YouTube and Twitch, and Blue Sky, and Mastodon, and Discord, and Matrix.
I won't deny it, I'm a straight rider.
What happened to Xiao Hong Shu? I'm still on Red Note 2. Thanks for reminding me. It's in my links! Man, TikTok used to be good. TikTok used to be freaking amazing. I don't know what happened. It just kind of... Like, my videos, a lot of them have flatlined in terms of views ever since it came back. I don't know what happened. I don't get a lot of news anymore. I don't see any of the protests anymore. Like, it's just like everything that... hate to mention politics, but anything that seemed to be in opposition of Trump just got suppressed. Don't you remember we used to find such a diverse plethora of content? Now a lot of my friends that are, creators that talk about diversity have no reach. There's like people that have like 1 million, 2 million followers that talked about diverse topics, and they're nowhere to be found. A lot of things after the ban don't appear anymore. Yeah. You mean before the ban? A lot of the things from before the ban don't appear now. Yeah, I totally agree. Thanks for the compliment on the shirt. I stole a few of these from the recent, Datadog user group about a year ago. They'll then gaslight you and say it's not a thing. Oh, absolutely. They'll also ban my live for a week like they just did, and this is my first live in a week on TikTok, because of hate speech and hateful behaviors. Y'all have seen my lives, I think, enough. Most of y'all have been here, like repeat viewers and all that. And I think you can understand. The only thing I hate is bad security. My dyslexia is going crazy. Sorry. Oh, you're good. So many comments deleted for the same deal. It's so bad. Oh, it's absolutely horrible. Use a VPN. The algo is different outside the US. Maybe, but I don't bother. The honest truth is I'm so is it dissuaded? Discouraged? I don't know what the proper word is, but I think you can understand from context here. From wanting to watch TikTok anymore, that I at most am on TikTok 10 to 15 minutes a day to consume content. And most of that content is things my friends sent me in messages. Most of the content, most of the time that I'm on TikTok, I'm making content. But I don't really feel like I want to consume content on TikTok anymore. Because TikTok is still my largest platform. And in terms of content creator revenue, it's still one of my largest sources. But I'm working hard to get YouTube and Twitch to displace that. Ultimately, it's not really the money that bothers me, but you need the money to get the tinkering projects and all the hardware so I can educate all of you. What hurts me the most is the suppression in the really good content I've put out there. I've done multiple years here trying to educate y'all on IT, and as I shifted more into cybersecurity and Linux, and you've seen my career grow and everything, and I've been trying for the, past couple of years. How long have I been on TikTok? Well, whatever, however long I've been here, to share the knowledge and the tools that I've learned over the years to the next people that are coming into tech. Because I know when I was growing up, I didn't have the resources to access as much information as a lot of you get. But by virtue of the ease of access of information, there's a lot of BS out there. If the end goal is cybersecurity, should one skip the CompTIA and start with Security Plus? No. Don't focus so much on the certs. Because here's the reality. There's no such thing as cybersecurity entry-level jobs, per se. Cybersecurity entry-level jobs are built upon having 2, 3, or more years of experience in IT. While cybersecurity is its own field and should be treated as such by an organization, there is, of course, still, you have to understand that cybersecurity is the specialization of IT. You have to understand the foundation and the concepts first and build upon that before you can know how to secure it. And don't get hung up too much on the cert aspect of things. And I say this as someone, I didn't have an A+. I didn't have Security Plus. I didn't have Linux Plus. I didn't have Network Plus. I didn't have any of that. My first certification was my CISSP that I only got a few months ago. And in order to get a CISSP, you must have 5 years of field experience, proving you can be in cybersecurity without certifications, without degrees as well. Networking or a help desk job before cyber? I personally started from networking. Networking in the MSP world. But when you're in an MSP, you do both. You are both help desk and networking, at least with how I was working, because I worked in a lot of small small managed service providers that had 5 or 6 people in them employed. But we all start somewhere in more or less a help desk position. But what are you protecting with cybersecurity and IT, and what is it? I was protecting businesses. I was deploying firewalls. I was setting up networks, access points, figuring out their entire needs from servers to desktops to everything. When I was in MSP, it was a holistic thing. I was the guy that was deploying the desktops, deploying the servers, setting up the network. I was doing everything A to Z. Started from the bottom, now we're here. Started from the bottom, now the whole beat fucking here. I sometimes have physical reactions listening. Oh yeah. Hey, how you doing, Live and Learn? How you doing, buddy? Routing, DNS, subnetting, all of it. Yep. The thing that kept me from going hard into networking, because when I wanted to expand my career, I saw two paths. Go deep into networking or focus on cybersecurity. Networking felt like it was going to be pretty boring to me, to be honest. Have I heard of the Atom 1 network? I have not. What's that? Networking equals Wi-Fi? Networking equals everything. Wi-Fi is one tiny aspect of it. Networking can be Wi-Fi, Ethernet, subnetting, BGP, what's the other protocol they have? Not BGP. It's escaping me. Yeah, cybersecurity is definitely a lot more fun. Ari, Barack. Flippy just redeemed the points. Yalla! Buena! Ari! Barack! I can hear them. I think that's Barack. Yep. I got butter. I got buddy. I got buddy. You got go boy. You got go boy. Oh, you got a burr in your face. Yep. I know. You got a burr though. Got it. You're damn Velcro, you know that? I gotta go, boy. I gotta go, boy. I gotta go, boy. They claim to have figured out a way to stop ransomware and phishing by blocking all lists with a reflex AI policy to allow known good DNS, though. That ain't gonna stop everything. What job do I do? Cybersecurity engineering. Because it's not just DNS that blocks ransomware and stuff like that. I mean, for all you know, the CNC could be doing a straight IP address. The reality is, ransomware and phishing. Well, a lot of phishing attempts actually come from legitimate domains that got compromised through a BEC, business email compromise. Cybersecurity engineer. I do okay. Hopefully I'll get a better promotion and get a nicer pay bump soon. And then, I am working, I got my CISSP, then I got CCSP, on the way. I'm also working on my, amateur radio licenses. So we'll eventually have some content on amateur radio. That'll be fun. I've already got my first radio, Basic Baofeng, programmed it. I'll have content on that and the products that I recommend. I actually found it through the TikTok shop. Do I code? A little. Mostly Python, and Bash, and Batch, and a little PowerShell. You're gonna get a surprise eventually. Yeah, I don't think, like, anyone's going to fully solve ransomware and phishing. But, yeah. He makes Java Minecraft mods. No, I drink a lot of Java. No one likes Java. Platforms you recommend to learn. Like, what? There's a lot of stuff. I always recommend home labbing. In my Discord, in the general chat, we have a pinned message. HBX has a 14.5 megabyte PDF with 600 pages on different things you can do to build a virtual home lab. Covers a lot of things in cybersecurity. SIMSOAR, IDP, intrusion detection prevention, intrusion detection, IDS and IDP. Why am I? Oh, IDP is a different one. Why am I like freaking blanking on this right now? I'm having a brain fart. It is intrusion detection. What was it called? Firewall, IDS, IPS and IDS. Okay. I don't know why my brain just brain farted right there on acronyms. People underestimate how powerful bad scripts are sometimes. Oh yeah, absolutely. Now PowerShell has kind of displaced a lot of that too, because Windows at least did learn lessons and from the Nix land, and realized that you do need a more powerful scripting system that's a little bit more extensible. Someone rewrote Minecraft in Python. Why? Write it in Rust. Assembly is pretty cursed. Yeah! Redo Minecraft in assembly language. Let us have another masterpiece of a video game in assembly language, like Roller Coaster Tycoon. Huh? Have y'all ever played Roller Coaster Tycoon? It is absolutely amazing how well that game ran. Huge Home Labber, can we like pay you somehow to show your setup, or have you basically audit everything we are doing? I'll eventually have a YouTube video covering it. I just have to get around to spending time to do it. Yeah, Roller Coaster Tycoon ran like butter back in the day. It was amazing how well that ran when it came to, like, what was it, Pentium 3 box. It was absolutely amazing just how well that ran. The hell? Okay, but anyway. Sorry. Someone was spamming in the chat. It may be. Meanwhile, Minecraft is unoptimized AF. Minecraft hasn't been optimized. Well, Minecraft is... It's amazing how horrible that game can run, as simple as it is. It really is, because, like, think about it. Roller Coaster Tycoon. Think about how many different actions were going on at any given time in that entire thing. And it runs smoother than Minecraft does. Like, think about it. Like, okay, let's just talk about, is a Flipper Zero worth it? It's a fun toy. Let me, Mr. Mysterious, let me make this very clear. They're a fun toy. Are they worth it? That's dependent upon you. There's nothing that the Flipper Zero does that is really all that unique. The novelty in how compact this device is. Now, I did find another device that, let me see if I can find it. 1 second. I did sign up to see more about it. No. No, that wasn't it. It was, hold on. Where the hell was it? No. God damn it. Hold on. I might have to look in my Discord. HBX and I were talking about this. There we go. There we go. The Interrupt Tech. This looked a little bit more interesting for me when it comes out. This looked to have all the capabilities of the Flipper Zero, but a little bit more power. It's a Raspberry Pi Zero inside of there for full Linux, same sub-gigahertz radio. Wi-Fi is built in. Flipper Zero does not do Wi-Fi. You have to add a card to it. It has Bluetooth, infrared, NFC, RFID, has a GPIO, and a touchscreen, which the other one doesn't. It can do a lot of the same things. But look at that form factor. You have an actual keyboard. I think this is gonna run about $200 if I'm not mistaken. Let me pull it up. It was on Kickstarter, I think. I was waiting for it to be announced. I don't do Kickstarter things all that much. Interrupt. It's still saying coming soon over on Kickstarter. I think if I recall, they were saying it was going to be $200. I did like a little like pre-reserve for $1 to get me like $30 off or whatever. It's $1 down payment or something like that or whatever I put down. Yeah, for $200, this is not bad at all. Like this is something I could throw in my pocket, have a full-on Linux machine in my pocket. It'd be great. Like, yeah. Are Kickstarters a safe buy? Not necessarily. Kickstarters do have a tendency, there's a lot of different scams and stuff out there, but there are some legitimate things that come from Kickstarters. Now, in terms of crowdsourced projects and everything, the one company that I do like buying a lot of my tech projects from, similar concept to Kickstarter, but this is specifically just tech related. Crowd Supply. So I've bought a lot of different projects from here. I bought the Tangara music player. I got that in my hands. Love it. The MNT Pocket Reform in my hand. Got this a little over a year ago. I'm still tinkering to get it working exactly how I want. It's more of an issue of this backplate over here. with the PCB and copper mix in there that is like kind of like acting like a Faraday cage. We found that bug. They're gonna have a new back soon, but I in the meantime have PCBWay CNCing my new one in aluminum that is also going to fix some of the heat issues and drop the thermals down about 30 degrees. That should be here in a week or so. But the other things that I got here, I haven't got this yet, but I do want to order it. The open source little discovery dish here. Now, the cool thing they're going to have soon eventually, because I'm starting to get more into amateur radio, I want to do satellite imagery and, you know, that'd be cool to do a hydrogen line feed for radio astronomy. You know, you can put it into a little box here with an RTL SDR. So this is just plugged into an RTL SDR. And in this case, you can see they have a PoE splitter going into this little guy over here. So you could probably just do a Raspberry Pi or something to do the same thing. But this is all open source, and they're going to soon have a Discovery Dish antenna rotator that's going to automatically rotate the antenna dish as necessary. I think that'd be cool. Anyway, that was a cool project that I'm planning on, you know, possibly getting. The MNT Reform Next is the next laptop that MNT is coming out with. I'm kind of interested in it, but I also want to get the MNT Pocket Reform more so. They have lots of these little hats and stuff out there. They've got this little palm-sized mini SLA printer out there. They've got like tons of these different like little things out there. Like the USB Armory Mark II looked like an interesting project to play with. The Tomu, which is an ARM computer inside of a USB. You can get your own true random number generator. Like, Crowd Supply is really where you could just go and geek out and be like, I want that, I want that, I want that, I want that. And this is where a lot of projects, you know, come to, you know, get money. The GG tag, I have that. I'm going to reprogram mine probably for DEF CON 32. I used it for DEF CON 32, for DEF CON 33. I used it for DEF CON 32. What distro? I'm using Pop OS. You have this little M.2 SDR board, so you could actually slide it into a laptop, get a software-defined radio in there, tons of little macro pads, the diabolic drives, bean counter. Like, some of these projects just look really fun. You have the Y-CAN, which is a CAN bus adapter, so you can plug that into your computer, in your car, and then your computer. There's tons of things out there that are, like, really awesome in here. There's something for everybody in here, in terms of tech. Look at this. Flexible PCB soldering. You've got so many different things. Like, look at this. A personal cloud. Like, that's to cluster different disks. Like, let's check that out for a second. I haven't paid attention to this. So, that was already funded. Now you can buy it. And then you can just throw, looks like 2.5-inch discs on there. Looks like it's a 4-bay, if I'm not mistaken. No, 6 2.5-inch drives. You have, like, tons of these little, like, mostly open source little things. Yeah, this is where all of my money in my wallet goes to die. You know, like, there's so many cool things that you can just go through here. Cat lamp soldering kit. Like, you have all these little soldering kits. Let's check that out for a second. Well, that's cute. I should get that for my nieces. They'd love that. They're old enough to solder. Look at that. You can give them a little soldering kit here. They can solder that together, have a little badge, put a little coin cell battery in there. It's cute. You've got this over here for people that like to tinker and do breadboard shit. This, I'm actually interested in getting this eventually. This USB-C power to your breadboard. Look at that. So you no longer have to, like, figure out how you're going to wire in your thing. Boom. I said I'm using Pop! OS Linux. Ooh, what's this? Whisker. The Raspberry Pi 400 originally got their funding out here. Like some of the stuff. No wait, I don't think they got their funding here. I think they just were supplying it because you can buy it as part of other kits and stuff. They have different pieces and all that. Real time. Oh, this is an oscilloscope. You've got like Adafruit temperature sensors. No, I think that's another case of just other hardware they had that you can use as part of your thing. There's other projects call upon them. Home security automation over here, an alarm panel that you could set up. Look at that. DeckSight, a drop-in low-power OLED display upgrade for LCD model Steam Decks. So if you wanted to upgrade your Steam Deck and you have the LCD, boom. Look at that. Someone's figured out how they can actually upgrade it. Anti-glare and gloss screen options. Like so many things to tinker with. This is for hacking and prototyping. Build hardware prototypes in minutes. Test USB attacks. It's got GPS, battery, sound, an expansion board, so you could, you know, do some more driving with it. There's tons of little fun little projects in here. E-ink screens up the wazoo. Like, let me show you a project that I really wanted to get. Like, I really want to get this. Hold on. This. I've been waiting for this to finally launch for, like, a few months now. This is going to be a 13.3-inch e-ink screen, 1600 by 1200. Do you know what a godsend that would be to my eyes? To just be able to use, like, imagine I'm doing my documents and stuff. And I can just have it for the things that I need to, like, focus on text-wise. Accessibility-wise, that is great. I'm hoping it'll be no more than, like, $250. The last update they had was December 12th. So it looks like they're still working on it. There's so many different little projects in here. You can get lost in it. Like, you've got, like, just in the security and privacy section, tons of things I want to do. Ooh. Was ist this? Portable RFID and NFC tool for real-world use. It's designed to be used in the field or at a desk with no client connection or setup. Just turn it on and start using it. The antenna can be easily and quickly swapped out to accommodate a wide variety of systems. Ooh. I know what I want to play with at work. I get to play with the physical security systems. It's kind of fun at work. Oh yeah, the Librem 13 did their the Librem laptops that I use. They got their crowdfunding out here. I have the Librem 14. Some of these projects aren't available anymore because they've been around. They've, you know, they're no longer in production. But yeah, there's a lot of cool things you can find over here. Sometimes it's just worth, like, paying attention to what gets released on here. Like, let's see, what is the latest? A Firefly automation controller. A compute module compatible baseboard with I/O link for industrial grade control. What is it, like SCADA? Or something different? This is crowd supply. USB blaster programming cable for Altera FPGAs. You have a dev board for the Altera Cyclone 4 FPGA. OpenViro, Axe PoE, an open source temperature monitor for servers and rack mount equipment. Ooh. I want to know the temperature of my stuff. Using a Raspberry Pi 2040. It looks like it's getting USB-C for the power. But I'm curious. Oh, yep. PoE. Yeah, that's totally something that's right up my alley. Hold up. I had to like subscribe when that comes out. The steady hand tool. Place and solder tiny components like a pro. See, I could have used this. I could have used this when doing the little, look at that. That's cool. Yeah, I totally could have used that when I was doing my stuff. Well, that's why I didn't see these before. These are brand new, so this is some of their latest stuff. The, Space Girl, Biology Girl soldering kit, the Cat Lamp soldering kit. I should buy some of those before DEF CON. Ooh, what's this? EEG, EMG, ECG, and EOG. What? That's what I thought it was. You can track bio data. That's so cool. Like, you can find all these little fun little niche projects that you probably couldn't find in a lot of other places there. I do want to get the Signal SDR Pro. I really do. But here's the issue. That's expensive. That's expensive for an SDR. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 antennas. Using an AMD Zinc 7020 SoC. Good range, though, 70 megahertz to 6 gigahertz. That's a lot better than my SDR over here, which I still need to set up. I think this only does around 3 gigahertz, but as low as 70. I could be wrong there. Now, I think mine did 2.1 gigahertz or something like that, or whatever. But yeah, this could do a really, really wide range of things. However, compared to some amateur radio systems, it's not too bad. But then again, I would probably have to hook it up to an amplifier and such. What do you think of Telegram? My drug dealer's using it because it's safe. It's not safe. It's not that private. Look. I'm just gonna say this. I am by no means someone who is a fan of the war on drugs. I don't believe in the war on drugs. I think it's done more harm than good. But people who sell drugs aren't the smartest people. I'm not talking about your neighborhood pot dealer, okay? That's one thing. Because that's getting legal now, okay? But I'm talking about the people who are actually selling, you know, the powders and, you know, the pills and all that. They ain't that smart. Trust me, when I was in college, I had to put down so many different people on how insecure their stuff was. And this is when I was just a baby in cybersecurity. But even I knew a lot of the ways they were doing things is dumb. The only reason that they're safe is because they don't care enough about you. Cybersecurity, how much of the game is about the physical tools and hardware, and how much of it is just coding and software work? Honest truth is most of cybersecurity is training people not to do stupid things. The human is the weakest link. These are some of those. I can tell you you're right. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah. I think there's, yeah, but back to what I was saying with the website and everything, there's a lot of cool little toys and everything that you can find on, like, Crowd Supply. You could just go on that site for, like, a couple hours and find tons of fun things to play with and everything like that. I like to tinker. And, speaking of tinkering, we will definitely be tinkering with this soldering iron and a couple of these, DIY soldering kits, just to do some soldering practice and compare the two soldering irons, the tried and trusted Peinsel of several years. See, TikTok just did it. Live restricted for some audience. Your live contains themes that some find uncomfortable and has been restricted. Regulated goods content. I'm literally talking about how drugs are bad. I don't get you, TikTok. This is why nobody can take TikTok seriously. Not your fault. TikTok's just stupid. That's why I've been, simulcasting over on Twitch and YouTube, and I've been transitioning more over to there. Because TikTok just ain't what it used to be. Can't even talk about, drugs are bad, man, okay? Drugs are bad. Don't do drugs. Tells people not to do drugs. TikTok restricts your live. So is TikTok telling us that they want kids to do drugs? Hope it gets banned. Hate TikTok. I hate the fact that I'm about to say this. I wouldn't be upset if TikTok got banned at this point. Like, I would be upset with the community I would have lost. 384,000 people, have followed me or something like that. But I'm at the point where I don't even see the value in the effort and expensing into creating content on TikTok. But they suppress some of my best educational content. They suppress a lot of other content out there. And it just ain't what it used to be. Yeah, it'll suck because in terms of, content creation revenue, it is by far my largest source right now, while I'm building up, Twitch and YouTube and the merch store and all of that stuff. But, yeah. Didn't mean to make you talk about that stuff. No, it's not your fault. TikTok's been a dick. Look, I just got back from a week-long suspension on TikTok for hate speech and hateful behaviors. And according to my TikTok live agent, they told me TikTok classifies curse words like the F word, the S word. Telling someone to shut up, or using MF, or even calling someone a or as hate speech. Like, it's ridiculous. They don't know what hate speech actually is. Hate speech and hateful behaviors. That's what they're classifying it as. What the hell is Mozilla? You do realize people call it different things, right? We live in a soft society. Tell me about it. That's got some force with it. Although it is kind of addicting to play with this desoldering pump. It is kind of nice they included the desoldering pump. The crypto space of TikTok is different. People curse sometimes, they get banned. I don't get it. MO has never made a Mozilla sound. Yeah, Taz. I can defeat that in one saying. Moth. You know, the insect. Moth. M-O-T-H.
Dumbass.
I swear, some people don't ever think things through when they talk about it. People pronounce things differently. That's all there is to it. But don't ever go around, Mo has never made a moth sound. Moth. Froth. Look, man, English is a really complex language when you think about it. Hey, you know, knife, you don't pronounce the K. But suddenly, you put it in front of many other words, you do pronounce it. Yeah, knife. Loki been real quiet since he realized that moth actually does do ma. They used to have to pronounce the knife and the K in knife like in like the old English. Was it really ever called a knife? Yeah. Well, it's getting kind of late, guys, and I had a long day, so I am going to say good night for everyone. But make sure, if you haven't already, to follow me on all of my socials. I am on Blue Sky, I am on Mastodon, I am on YouTube, Twitch, and TikTok, and we do have a Discord and a Matrix server as well. And I love y'all. Happy hacking. Stay safe out there, and stick around for the raid if you're over on Twitch. I will see you all Sunday evening for the next stream. Thank you all for joining me. Stay safe. Happy hacking.